Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
It's been a couple of weeks, I think, hasn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. It's time
Uh,
goes by so fast.
we've jumped in and done this. We thought we'd talk today about an upcoming program that we have to help people navigate through these rocky shores, I guess, seas. Um,
Buffeted by the winds and the ocean and the
yeah,
waves
the
of
waves.
change.
Every water metaphor you can throw at it.
The whirlwind of career.
We could use. But before we get started, we wanted to introduce you to us, those of you who may not know us, and those of you who do, with a little video that talks about the work life flow. So here we go with that.
Here we
We'll
go.
be right back.
We're in it together. We're in it together. If you get off track, I got your back. Remember, oh yeah, we're in this together.
Wow.
We're in this together.
That
So,
was good.
the topic for today with the true direction idea and program package, talk about how did we design this? How did we come to create it?
Well, I think along the way, there's always changes going on in careers, work layoffs, new work, changing work. It's been such a cavalcade of change over the last 20 years. I think that we've always felt the need to help people to deal with the making decisions for themselves. And what do you base the decisions on? I mean, that's the key. I mean, it's a good job, or this is a good job that's going to last, or our philosophy has always been built around do something that's going to give you satisfaction. Well, what are you passionate about? What do you want? Where do you want to go? And it's surprising how many people really haven't taken the time to figure that out for themselves.
Right.
So a lot of the work that we've done over the years and we've sort of brought forward into this program is based on the fact that people need to take time to answer four key questions. One of which is, who am I? Another
Well,
one.
I'm going to interrupt you there because we're going to get into all of that with our
Oh,
discussion for today. So
okay.
let's jump in, and I think what you were sharing, which I think is so interesting, the perception that people have. This is basically about change, but I think it's applicable to the topic of setting your own true direction,
Sure.
because you can look at this is the Chinese symbol for change, which can either be viewed as a crisis or an opportunity. So we've merged the two in typical work-life fashion and call it a crisis-opportunity.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important to look at this and step back for a moment and see, how do you look at these situations, let's say, because it could
Yeah.
be a crisis or an opportunity.
Yeah. And do you want to surf the waves of change, or do you want to get bowled over by the waves of change and get lost in the foam?
Exactly. And I love this because we have these visions, these metaphors of the ship, navigating the seas or traversing a bridge of some sort. There's a
Yeah.
gap in between. So there's always something that, we're traversing. But I love this by Anita de France. Your
Yeah.
goal should be out of reach, but not out of sight.
Right. And that
And
goal
I
should be
think,
something that's motivating to you, that gives you guidance and direction, which is why we call it true direction.
right, right. And I think in both of these images, there's a goal in mind. There's an end. There's a direction, and figuring out, is this the true direction? Is there a bridge underneath here that maybe would be better? Is there, some other shoreline that we're navigating towards? And all of those apply to what we may choose in our next steps. So the true direction package came about based on a lot of the things that Dave just shared. But I love this graphic of, consider what your superhero is. And when you think about that superhero, you can then, as Dave was starting to address, answer these questions, create a plan that identifies who am I, what do I want, where am I going, and how do I get there? And so we're going to go a little further into these, but these 4 questions are key when you're thinking about, am I heading in that true direction?
Well, they seem like such simple questions that, the answers should be simple, but they're not.
Right.
It seems like these simple questions sometimes are the hardest ones to answer.
Yeah, that true north, so we offer in the package a career goal assessment, which identifies, are the goals that I currently have aligned with the career choices I've made? And if not, what am I going to do about it? And I think a lot of where I always like to go when I coach clients and taking a look at their next steps is helping them to understand that they make the decision. They're in the driver's seat. If it's to be, it's up to me. It's not sit around and wait 10 years and maybe somebody will recognize that I'm brilliant.
Right. Or I'll send out 1,000 resumes and see if anybody responds.
Right. Just dartboard. Shoom, dartboard to the wall.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
And then the visioning questionnaire is so important that it really gets to that next future state along with these questions.
Right.
So who am I is really assessing, and this is all directly out of, in the package, there's and I'll also say that this package is, we call it a DIY, do it yourself, start, because it gives people the opportunity to do their own thing in their own time. But there's also the option to step it up another level and work with one of us as well. Right. But out of the career transition guide workbook that we've created is a section called Who Am I? And really diving into what's my passion, what's my style or strength, what are the superpower? Yep, my superpower. And what are the motivators, the needs that are underneath it all? So the exercises in the workbook are identifying a role model, which is so important to aligning who you are. And then we have a creative exercise, which is the postcard exercise, a creative graphic that identifies your direction. And then identifying and writing your 15-second commercial. So when somebody asks you, tell me about yourself, you can be succinct and clear and direct in that process.
Right. So most of the work is actually helping you to come up with the lexicon, the glossary of language that you use to express yourself. Because what happens in most situations is people ask you a question, you go, or I'm not sure, let me think about it. Well, we want you to be well skilled in being able to use the right words to describe what it is that you're looking for, what it is that you want to do, what it is that makes it that you're passionate about.
Exactly. Because otherwise you're lost in the seas. You're not seeing any shoreline. And then the next question is, what do I want? And this one, we also align, and you'll see in a minute, these questions with the Berkman tool so that we can help you figure out what those passions really are. And also take a look at, and you do these exercises, your career values. For me, what's a top value for you?
Creativity, free expression, being able to be creative and expressive.
We both have, what we help clients do is come up with a list out of several options that are career and life focused, but then narrow those lists down to their top 5.
What's one for you?
Integrity.
Yeah.
Very important. Not that creativity isn't up there, but if the integrity, it's one of those rocky shore moments, rocky waves, that if it's out of sync, I can't do it.
The other thing with the Berkman as well is that, again, it generates language that you can use to express yourself. Language you can use on your resume, language you can use in your cover letters, language you can use in your interviews. help
Right.
to prepare you so that you're well schooled in how you're going to express yourself.
And then the other piece to what do I want? Okay, what are your priorities? That's key. What do you need? Geography, financial, the role itself.
The kind of company you want to work for, the industry you're interested in.
And the other thing I'll add to this is it's not only for seasoned adults. I mean, this is for who, maybe have been in years in a role and they're trying to figure out where they may want to go now for their next chapter or last chapter, whatever it may be. But this is for students who are going in as well, going into college or making that decision of what do I want?
Or getting out of college and trying to find their way in a very chaotic workplace.
Right. Right. So that's what this helps to create so that it isn't a lot of wasted time, which is very helpful for parents who are trying to, foot the bill for these expensive college tuitions. So how nice is it to know that there's something that aligns? The story I love to tell is the two parents who were fantastic. They were both research doctors.
Very successful.
And they thought for sure that their son would follow suit and he'd go into scientific research. Well, he was miserable. And fortunately, they came to us, and it turns out that their son was the direct opposite, hospitality, social. He didn't want to be locked away in a lab doing research. And they were very supportive of that switch. And everybody was happy about the outcome.
Yeah.
The next is, where am I going? So to be able to articulate these various stories, if you will, what's your career story? What we help people create what's called an autobiography of your career, which is another fun, creative exercise. Remember, one of our clients created her chapters for her autobiography based on decades of music.
Different music for each decade. Each job that she had was a different song.
And then the final piece is a par story format, which is looking at and creating this collection of, what are the problems or what are the things that maybe didn't go so well. And also those that went really well. Right. What are the actions you took and what were the documented results that would flow nicely into an updated resume?
So once again, you can see that it's generating more language, more stories, more ability to express yourself. This is, I think, in my experience has shown me that it's the most important thing is how you show up and how well you present yourself has so much to do with the words, the language, the stories, the way that you get across the essence of who you are.
Exactly. And then how do I get there? So this certainly requires an action plan, a network, and a 15-second, really honing in on that 15-second pitch commercial story.
Yeah, making your approach practical, making it something that you can really track, you can start seeing some results from.
And what I think is interesting about when you think about network, people go, oh, I hate that. And it's just business cards. No, it's not. It's
strategic networking.
It's strategic networking. So we all have our we have our, basic colleague network, but the strategic network are who are the people you're going to put in place to help you get there.
Right.
And there are several people that never tap into that one. So that's the overview and all, as you said, Dave, the stories that are aligned with these outcomes. And then on top of that, we've got the Berkman assessment, which has over 75 years of validity, helps you as an individual and or people who are working alongside of you with this. It could be for people on a team to do this individually and then come together, look at their leadership approach and look at their teamwork and how they work together. Explore your own personal careers and see where your talent best fits. But I think the biggest piece of all is it helps individuals and therefore working with others better embrace a diversity of thought.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. All the different sewers, all the superpowers working together into the Justice League.
That's right. And then imagine what would happen there with that outcome. And then the final piece is, if you risk nothing, then you risk everything.
Yeah.
So Gina Davis, I love this. The future is waiting, because, if you don't, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
So
waiting for everything to settle down.
That's right. And
Well, guess what? You better get paddling, because it's never going to settle down.
Never settle down. So I think the biggest piece here is that, this embracing risk and taking a chance and, asking for what you want personally is the real key indicator.
Right.
But this program will be launching very soon. We just wanted to give you a heads up about it. More information, we'll be uploading it to our website, but also on our website, you can add your name to our list, and certainly we will keep you informed when it's officially launching, which I think is by the end of the week.
Let's hope.
Yes, there's always something else that we have to do. It's never ready.
Never ending.
So the worklifeonline.com. Any closing comments for today?
No, I think if I had anything to say, it would be, just remember, scrappy is the new perfect. So don't be afraid to just jump in and give it what you got. I
think that's a good idea. And so I'm going to close in a section of that Elliott Lewis music. And thanks for listening. And if you're watching at the moment live, thank you for joining us. And if you're watching the recording, thank you for joining us. Always leave a comment. I think my question would be, what's your true direction? What have you found to be your true direction? And in my case, I can't imagine another direction I would take. There's always some other direction that comes out of my main direction.
Right. But once you find what that direction is, then everything else really generates off of that.
Yeah, I think, that's the real key, is that once you're in the zone, that you know it when you're there.
Oh, so, I call it the ozone. Oh, is that what it is? The ozone.
That's what
the ozone
could be. So thanks again. We'll see you next time.